Hi, my name is Eric Howard, and today I'm going over part two from my ethical hacking video. And in this part of the video, we will be going over how to create a backdoor after owning a system, so you can maintain access into the system, into the machine that you spend a long time, doing research and hacking into. Because it would suck to hack into a machine just to have it lost the very next day once they do a virus scan or whatever. So. So what we want to do now is what I'm going to do. I'm sorry, is since we only have 15 minutes, I'm going to go over the script that I already wrote. Just go over what it does and quickly do a little demonstration on how to use it. And this could be very helpful for if you're penetration testing and you don't have the ability to, have any. If the network administrators did not put any netcat tools or any other kind of tools we can do transferring over the network, this is really good to have. And yeah, let's go over it. Let's see what it does. So the first thing to notice is we're using these modules, which are very common and very important to use for doing network transferring and command line arguments, or when you're using command line arguments for input. We have our sys module, socket module, get op module, threading module, subprocess module, and a Python debugger module. And we'll see all these in action as we continue with the script. So first thing we have here are the variables that we will be using. These are going to be different options that the user can input into the script. And right now we have them all on default, pretty much have them doing nothing right now until the user declares that he wants to use a certain option, one of these certain commands. So first thing we have, most Linux commands have a usage function, which will tell you how to use this function, and we'll have a couple of examples on how to of some valid inputs, so you can get an idea of what a valid input for the function looks like, and you can see that here. And then we start with our main function. We declare all the variables that we had previously as global, so we could access them in this function. And then we do a quick check to make sure that our options given by the user, and we simply use our. This is where you see the opts. You see the opts module getting used here, and all it is a system argument parser. So it's going to parse through all the arguments given to us by the user that's using the function. So once it finds something, it then, as you saw before, the variables right now are set on default. It's going to give it the correct value so it can be used later on in the function. So you can see here it's going through all of them, and if it hits one of those, then it loads it up to the correct value. So that's that. Yeah, so in here, in this part is pretty important in our main function. This entire function is doing either one or two things. It's either sending a command to a remote machine, or it's either listening for a remote command from a remote machine. So pretty much either it's being a client or it's being a server. It's really all this is. It's a client-server architecture. And so the script is either doing one thing or another. It's either listening for a command or it's sending a command. So very simple. You see that right here. And now we're going to go into more detail about the functions that are doing these things. So for the first one is a client-sender function. This is, as it sounds, it's being the client and sending data to the remote machine that should be listening for it. And we're using a socket. We declare a socket object called client, and we just simply do an IPv4 connection to an IP into a port. And we're checking, make sure that we have something to send, as you see here. And we just run a loop, and this loop is going to continue to run until there's nothing else to send. But once there's nothing else to send, it will break here. And I'm sorry, no, this is a part where we receive data. We send data at this part right here. Then once we send that, we wait for data to come back. And we keep on concatenating the data to our response variable until there's nothing more to receive from our socket object called client. And once there's no more data to be received from our client variable, we will break and print the response. And here, it's just waiting. It's just in case you have something else you want to send, the whole process will start all over again. If not, you hit Control C. That's how you break out of it. And then we just have an exception just in case something goes wrong. We can still close connection, which is really important. We don't want to leave any connections open without us knowingly doing it. And the second part, the second half of the function pretty much, is the server loop. In this function, we will be listening on a target IP and a port. If there's no target given, then, which is really common, you just might do a TAC L and give it a TAC P port argument. And this function is just going to assume, it's going to know you're talking about, okay, you want to listen on this port. So what we're doing is we have a target set to 0.0.0.0, and that just means listen on all interfaces on this machine. So that's what we're doing there. And we run a bind command, and this is how, I'm sorry, we skipped the server variable. The server variable is just, once again, another socket object, but this time, before we use it to make a connection to a remote machine, this time we're going to use that socket object and use the bind method to, and all that is just telling the machine to listen for connections on this port. So we're just binding it so it could take connections. And then we just set we do a server.listen 5, and that just means it can accept up to 5 connections. Any more than that, it's going to deny the connection. So right now you can see it's a pretty simple client server architecture we have going on. So the next part is, so that's what it's doing. So the next part is it's going to keep on just running a loop and just listening for connections. And every time it hears a connection attempting to connect, it's going to accept, as you see right here. And like I said, I don't think I said it before, but this is a multi-threaded program. So we can, what we're doing is everyone is getting his own thread, so it'll run a lot more efficiently. And so each one is, you see here, our client handler, it passes an argument for our socket. And so now every client handler function is being ran in its own thread. So it's going to make the whole thing just faster and more efficient. And then here we started the thread, so it starts handling the connection. And we haven't gone over the client handler function yet, but we will. So just for right now, just know that each thread, it gets the connection, and then the connection gets handled by its own thread. Next thing is a run command function. This is going to be used for when we want to run a command on the remote machine that we have the backdoor on. And first thing we do is we just strip out the new line, and that's all this is doing. Where strip it strips out the new line by default. If you don't give it an argument, it's going to strip out the new line in a blank space. And then here we have this for the user, so they know what's going on. It's going to print out processing command, and it's going to try to run the command. So subprocess.check is simply, all it's doing is passing the command through the shell to get interpreted by the shell, just like any other command you do while you're on your local machine running a command through a shell. It's just doing it remotely. So it passes the command to this this function, and then the output goes into the variable called output. And if anything goes wrong, then you have an exception, and it's going to let you know. And it gets returned back, so you know what's going on. So just in case it doesn't work, because maybe was a malformed command or anything like that, it will be returned to the user. So after that, we are looking at our client handler function. And our client handler function, as you can see here, we once again we make some more global, we declare some more global variables so we can access them. And these are the ones we're going to need for our client handler. And what this is doing is it's handling the client's connections. So I can go down. You see, first thing it's doing is checking, just in case we want to use the upload command. Then we're going to check for it, and we're going to keep on receiving data from the user until there's no more left. And you see here, it's going to keep on concatenating all the data to this variable right here. And then once that is finished, we are going to we're going to open up the file in whatever destination the user gave to the remote machine. And this is how you could either write to an already made file, or you can create a new file on the remote machine. So this is really good for if a hacker wants to upload malicious files through this program. This is how you would do it. You see here, that's all it's doing. It's writing whatever the user wants to put in at this destination. So the next thing it does is just sends back either it was successful or this is error right here. It should not be. They both say successfully saved. It should definitely be. If it was successful, then it'll let you know. It'll send that back to you. If not, it will say failed to save file at the location of the inputs. There we go. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is look at our execute command, and this is pretty simple. You just pass it a command, and it passes that argument into the run command function, which we've already seen, and it gets executed. And so that's pretty simple. The next one is my favorite one. This one is similar to the Meterpreter or Metasploit. This will give you a command shell. So it's just as if you were on the local machine yourself. You just have a shell we could keep on passing different commands to. And that's pretty much it. So I'm running out of time, so let's hurry up and do a demonstration so we can see what this can do. So let's open up a terminal real quick and paste the location. And I'm going to run the script. Hurry up, I'm running low on time. And what we're going to do here, we're going to listen on port. Let's say it doesn't matter, it's really arbitrary. So just choose one that's not already being used. And also, let's say what we want to listen for. Let's say we want to do a command shell on this port. So hit that. And now you see right there, it's just waiting. It's listening now. It's just running that server loop over and over again. Just waiting for some kind of input. And do the same thing here. So our target is going to be localhost, and just give it the port, which we said is 555, and hit Control D. And as you see, now we have our little prompt, and we can run commands like this. And if you see on the other terminal, you can see that it is wrong one. Here we go. On this one, you can see that it's taking the commands as we showed in the code, and it's receiving it, showing you what it received, and it's processing it. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed what you learned. I'll have the source code, in the YouTube description, so you can look over it yourself and try to follow along. And any questions, you can leave it in the comments. And I hope you enjoyed it.